Good morning. Meteorologist Lisa Green here with a look at what we can expect as we are making our way through the week this week. I hope everybody had a great weekend and that you stayed warm. I know I put my AC and furnace through the ringer here because this weekend I had to turn the heat on, and that lasted all the way into Sunday morning. And then after that, I turned the heat off on Sunday because we started to warm up, and today we're going to have to flip on the AC, I think. Maybe not until later this afternoon because temperatures are still a little bit cool out there. So I do want to talk about the cool down we experienced even as we're talking about that warm up. So here's what we're first alerting you to first of all here. Summer, it's back this week. We're going to be seeing temperatures warm up for much of the week here. And in addition to that, we get summer temperatures coming back. And so what else comes with summertime? The potential for rain and thunderstorms. And so we've got increasing storm risk by the end of the week with the warm up that's been here. So that's what we're looking out for here, and we're going to be getting into details on that. But let's do a quick recap. I want to show you a couple of photos. I'm going to take these full screen actually because they're so cool. A couple of photos that we've gotten in, and there's even more in our gallery. So if you want to check them all out, you can do so right on our gallery. But this was taken this weekend, Sunday morning to be exact, when we saw some of our coldest temperatures so far this season. And this was out on Round Lake, and this is in the Otter Tail area, Minnesota. And Kayla took this photo of the full moon, and yesterday it was full, our last full moon of summertime. The full corn moon is what this moon is called, and I think we all know why it's called the corn moon. But this was reflecting off of those calm waters, and what it's illuminating is that steam fog we've talked about before, especially this time of year when we see the waters are still pretty warm this time of year, but we start to get more cold nights. And so when that happens and that cooler air moves over that warm water, that tends to cool down to the dew point, and we see some fog form sometimes. And so this is, of course, on a still clear night when we talk about fog formation, and that often happens around that time or with those kind of conditions. So this is just one photo. Thanks, Kayla, so much for sharing that with me. And then another photo of fog over a lake. This is the sun at this point. I think so. The full moon was very bright. Sometimes it can be hard to tell in the pictures. But this was the White Earth Lake area in Minnesota, and Marilyn took this photo of some fishermen out on the lake, and just a really pretty shot, but you can see that fog in the distance. So really cool to see these kind of pictures if you have some like this, especially when they're showing off what's going on with the weather, with the cool down we saw. If they're showing off some fall colors, we'd love to hear from you, and that helps us to get an idea of what's going on out there around the valley, but also we get to share that with viewers, and they get to see some of the cool things you are seeing as well. So you can upload those right through our VNL weather app or right through our website. On the app, it's really easy on your phone. Open up the app, and on the home page, there's a submit button at the bottom that you can click on, and that's right where you go to send photos. So again, just a couple of really cool pictures from Sunday because it was so cool. Here's a look at just how cold it was. Grand Forks Airport. Now this is compared to the site in town at the UND National Weather Service offices. That is where this is a relatively new site where the airport is. But still, we set a record low, or tied it yesterday morning, where we got down to 32 degrees, or right at the freezing point in Grand Forks. And that ties the previous record from 1974 that was set there. So it's been a while. It's been a minute since we've seen that cold temperature on the date of the 7th. And also, speaking of 7th, that's the 7th earliest time that a 32-degree reading or freezing mark or lower has been reported at the airport in Grand Forks. So that gives you an idea of not necessarily we are just setting records for the coldest ever fall or anything like that, but we are more unusually cold that we saw with this cold snap that just moved through. And in comparison, the earliest 32-degree temperature ever measured in Grand Forks, at the airport specifically, was on August 20th in 2004. And that was a cold summer. That was the summer that I moved here and started my job here, and I remember there weren't many days where we hit 90 degrees, and this summer there hasn't been many either, if I remember right. And maybe I'll write that down. We're going to write that down, and we'll do a graphic on that, and when I come back tomorrow, we'll kind of recap the summer and take a look at some of our 90-degree days that we saw. But if I remember right, when I was looking at some of the data, it's only 3 days, I think, in Fargo, but we'll get back to that tomorrow. But again, it's just been relatively cool. And so we have seen, certainly an early cool down that's happened at the Grand Forks Airport. And so just comparing that to other places on Sunday, a lot of spots did dip down toward the freezing point. Hallock got below freezing at 30, so did Park Rapids. Fargo, our coolest temperature yet this season, 33, the low temperature. So likely saw some frost. If you did, we'd really appreciate hearing from you. Again, send us your photos. Let us know what you experienced this weekend. So let's put that behind us. It's kind of fun to start to be thinking fall and get in that fall spirit. But what's nice is you can still head out and do your fall things, but now it's going to be a little bit warmer as we're warming up this week. So here's a look at where our temperatures were today. This is our lows today. Fargo only got down to 51. So that's almost 18-degree difference, almost a 20-degree difference between yesterday morning and this morning. So we've really seen a temperature turnaround, and a 10-degree difference in Grand Forks, a low of 42 today. And most areas were in the 40s at least. The one spot was Bemidji that got down into the upper 30s. We were fluctuating all morning long during the valley today between the upper 30s and low 40s, and so the low there was 38. So we've been watching warmer air building into the valley, and that air mass is going to hang around. But in that transition time, we've got a front lifting in, and that will bring about a chance for some areas of rain developing for later today. One other thing I want to talk about is what you're seeing here. This is actually a live view on our sky cam at the station here on our Corwin Tower cam. Notice how the sun is shining through looks like some milky skies here this morning, and it makes you think, okay, is our air quality bad? Do we have smoke? Well, yes and no. So let's talk about it. So we're looking at our surface smoke forecast. Again, this is at the surface level where we are spending our time, and it's looking okay here for today. By 5 p.m., you can see we are seeing a little bit of smoke try to make its way to the surface, but these are low concentrations in light blue, and really the smoke stays out to the west of us here as we are looking at surface smoke levels. Now, we've got two different models that really kind of help tell the story. This is the surface smoke model, and then we want to take a look at what is called vertically integrated smoke. And what does that make you think of? Vertical. We're looking all the way up through the levels of the atmosphere. And that is looking pretty dramatic, as you probably already noticed behind me here. We have smoke aloft, higher up right now. And as we just saw in our model, not expecting much to make its way to the surface, but there is smoke aloft, so that's going to filter out some of that sunshine here today. And you can see higher concentrations in the reds as we are looking at later on this evening. And then continuing on overnight and into Tuesday, you can see that there's still some smoke, but some of that starts to move on into Tuesday. So right now our air quality, we are doing just fine. You can see in our air quality index in the valley, we're in the green, which means we've got good air quality right now. So that's good that it's not making its way to the surface, but it will make for some milky skies here today. And you can see to the north and west, that's where we've got some air quality issues up into Canada, and this is covering it up, but out into the northwestern part of the U.S. as well, dealing with some wildfire smoke there too. So in case you've been wondering about those milky skies, that's what's going on. The smoke rather is staying higher up. It's not moving into the surface. And part of that is that we've got warmer air pushing in from the south to kind of help keep it at bay here this morning. And so let's take a look at our wind speeds. Speaking of warmer air moving in out of the south, we've got wind up to, well, let's see here. We've got a gust in Oaks to 18 miles per hour. One gust in Alexandria on its own to 31 miles per hour, but most of us seeing our steady speeds about 5 to 15 miles per hour in the valley. So not a strong wind, just that the overall flow is coming in from the south. Again, there's some exceptions with some gusts there. And taking a look at our temperatures, quite a range. We're in the 50s in Baudette, 57 degrees there, whereas Sisseton's already warmed up to 72 degrees. So that warmer air, again, lifting in, it'll be last to move its way in, or slowest to move its way into that northeastern part of our viewing area. Fargo currently at 65, it's 58 in Grand Forks. So with that warmer air, I mentioned that chance for some rain. So that's what we're going to be watching out for here today. You can see some clouds north and some clouds west. A couple of areas of green starting to show up on our radar over in the James River Valley area. And that's where we're going to watch out for the beginnings of some development going on here. So let's take a look in our forecast model. As we work our way through midday and head into the afternoon, we'll have those chances for rain starting to move in. And this is about 4 o'clock. Now, this model seems to be lagging a little bit from what we're seeing on the radar. So be prepared for, a passing shower perhaps earlier in the afternoon. Based on what I'm seeing on the radar right now, we want to be ready a little bit sooner than what this model is showing. But it does depict location and coverage and intensity pretty well with some light showers initially. And then as we make our way into the afternoon, you can see areas of orange here popping up. This is about 8 p.m., so afternoon and evening. And so this is what I mean about that potential for, an isolated storm or two. We could see one or two get a little stronger, and we'd be watching out for hail would be our biggest concern for any storms that may turn severe. It's a low risk. It's what's called a conditional threat. And what that means is certain conditions have to be met for that to happen. And right now, it doesn't necessarily look like we've got all of the ingredients coming together to produce that, but it's possible. And so again, a conditional threat here for some rain and thunderstorm activity that could turn severe. Either way, be prepared in the Southern Valley for a chance for some showers and even a thunder shower potentially this afternoon. And then that kind of pushes east, so Eastern Valley will want to be on the lookout for that too. And you can see some of these showers still going into the overnight hours before they start to depart. This is 8 a.m. on Tuesday, before they start to depart heading into the day on Tuesday. So that's round one. And we do have that marginal risk. I thought I brought that graphic up here. Maybe it's a little bit later. But we'll get into later this week too. So, I mentioned what we're first alerting you to, the warm-up, but also that warm-up is bringing more shower chances. And toward the end of the week, that's possible as well. So you can see 9 a.m. on Thursday. We've got some rain out west. And again, this is still several days away, so timing is probably going to change a little bit. But we're still watching out for some showers, some thunder showers possible. Thursday, more evening hours for us in the Red River Valley, and then into the overnight hours into Friday, that possibility will be there. This is Friday at 8 or closer to 9 o'clock in the morning, and you can see these spotty areas. It's not necessarily raining everywhere, but the chances there heading into Friday afternoon and even into Friday evening. So if you have plans to head out to a football game Friday night, if you are traveling on Friday to head to your weekend destinations, just be aware there might be rain. And so it's a good idea to check back with us, check your VNL weather app for the latest. And of course, we'll be making sure that we keep you up to date as we get closer toward the end of the week as well for that Friday night chance. And speaking of weekend plans, I know a lot of us already on Monday thinking ahead to the weekend, and look at our temperatures coming up this weekend, much milder than this past one. So we're looking at some 70s to some low 80s coming up for Saturday, and then heading into Sunday, some low to mid, maybe even some upper 70s coming up for Sunday. But overall, this is a lot milder than where we've been. We've got some warmer air taking over, and it's sticking around here. And we've talked about that actually when we've been looking ahead to how fall is going to shape up in the month of September. Last Monday we were talking about this. And so here's a look at our 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. You can see that we're looking at a lot of red on the map here, especially right over much of the valley, northern Minnesota and into northern North Dakota too. And that's where above average temperatures, and so this 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, this is the 15th through the 21st. So beyond today into that next week to come and beyond. And so looking at the possibility for above average temperatures to be pretty likely during that time. And this is after we get through the next 7 days. So this is looking out pretty far from the Storm Prediction Center. Our climate setup right now is so that it looks like our pattern is going to bring about and keep around some warmer temperatures over the course of the next couple of weeks. And here's a look at our planner. You can see again, today we're making our way up to 78 degrees. We've got that chance for some storms heading into Tuesday, Wednesday. Tuesday might have some storms lingering or showers lingering, but Wednesday looks really quiet. Thursday night and Friday, we just talked about that, and then this weekend, maybe it lingers, that chance for a shower, a thunder shower into Saturday morning, but overall looking pretty mild. And then in the next days, the next week after that, again, this coincides with our Climate Prediction Center outlook. We're looking at temperatures mid to upper 70s. Average high for today's date is 75, so we're going to be above average today. By the time we get to the end of our 11-day planner, our averages either go up or go down depending on what time of year it is, and so we're heading into fall, and so our averages are going to be dropping. So even on Thursday, we'll likely be around or even above average on Thursday, even if our temperatures more to the mid-70s than the upper 70s. So again, conditions are looking really good for warm numbers, warm temperatures this week and heading into next week too, which is great for, outdoor plants, for if you are able to keep your, gardens going over the weekend, if you were able to protect your tomato plants, those tender plants. We've still got a couple of weeks here where we're looking at not having to worry as much about frost. You can see our lows more into the 50s and 60s from this point on. So that's something for gardeners to be happy about. That's if you were able to keep your plants alive over the weekend with the frost that we saw in a lot of places. I do want to show you, I'm going to actually pull this up right now because I did not add it to my my slideshow of graphics here, unfortunately. So we'll just pull it up on our website. Just a look at that risk for today. Let's see here. We'll pull this up full screen. There we go. So here's a look at our weather page. We'll scroll down and I'll show you where that risk is for today, right here. Severe weather risk. Those areas in deeper green, this is where we have a marginal risk for severe storms today. So, here's Fargo. Fargo's in the light green, which means general thunderstorms. We have a chance, but the energy for potential for severe weather, for that possibility for some hail, is a little farther south. It looks like right now places like Wahpeton, down towards Sisseton, Wheaton, Elbow Lake, Fergus Falls, all through Otter Tail County. Even Detroit Lakes is included in this. This stretches back over to Park Rapids and all of Wadena County, Alexandria too, and then beyond outside of our viewing area. That's if we do see some severe weather where it would be more likely for today. So something to keep in mind if you have plans to be outdoors this afternoon and evening, or if you're going to be out, out and about driving, just want to make sure you check the VNL weather app for the latest information. Make sure you know what you're heading out into, what might be coming your way as we head into tonight. So yes, back to summertime as we are warming things up, but we do have to now watch out for those thunderstorm chances again today and again toward the end of the week that we'll be keeping an eye on for you. So I hope you had a great weekend again. Enjoy your Monday. It is one that is going to be, a little more on that milky side as we saw in our Skycam. And we're looking at conditions that are going to be staying warm here throughout the week. So enjoy that warm up again before summertime or fall kicks back in and summertime maybe ends for good. We'll see when that happens. That doesn't look to be any time in the near future. So a little false fall this weekend and back to summer now. Have a great Monday.